Hello, welcome to our Monday Business News Report and TVC Breakfast. Now it's time to bring you a feature on the show today. With the emergence of Joe Biden as the President-elect of the United States of America, it undoubtedly brings about a host of changes in U.S. foreign policy, geopolitical competition, the participation of the United States in global multilateral issues and the U.S.-China relations. Now for the global market as well, what matters the most is the economic policies that would be implemented in the Joe Biden era and their impact on the world economy, hence the emergence of what is touted as Bidenomics. Now, what economic challenges will the Biden era face? What are his priorities in the economy? And first of all, Joe Biden needs to pass a huge recovery bill in Congress. Some market analysts estimate that the United States needs about $2 trillion to $3 trillion, which includes short-term stimulus funds to support unemployment insurance and help state governments and other local governments also cope with the budget hole. President-elect Joe Biden will also need to return to multilateral cooperation on issues such as global climate change. He has previously demonstrated a strong will in this regard, saying that he would return to the Paris Agreement on the first day after taking office. Well, joining me to discuss all of the prospective economic direction of the United States with the emergence of Joe Biden as president-elect and how this would affect global economies, the African trade market, and also Nigeria in particular. I have with me Dr. Mabinori. Good to have you on our breakfast show at this hour.
Good to be here once again.
Now, we've seen quite an interesting sentiment on the part of investors so far, looking at the reactions we've gotten in terms of Joe Biden emerging as president-elect of the United States. How does this come to you? We just see some huge level of rally and peaceful sentiment, so to speak. The markets are calm.
All right. Thank you very much. You know, as an economist, it would be very incomplete of me or unprofessional to say you don't want to discuss politics, because without politics, there is no economics. In fact, before now, economics used to be political economy. The likes of Adam Smith and co. We used to call it political economy. So that means economics is politics is economics, because macroeconomic variables are things we discuss in economics, and they come from politics. So that means Joe Biden's election or U.S. election, or any election as the case may be, is what we pay attention to as economists. Joe Biden's election, so to speak, victory for me is a double-edged sword. Number one, there is this tension, for instance, in Africa that, okay, what Obama administration couldn't complete those days, Biden will continue it. In terms of, when I say double-edged, it means it has both a good side and also it's a bad side. In terms of economic implication, fine, we should expect more portfolio investment into Africa from the Biden administration. But the other flip of it that many people have been scared of is the issue of some level of, let me say, immorality that in Africa we don't consider okay. For instance, we remember what happened in 2014 to 2015 of gay marriage being introduced into Nigeria economy and what have you. So people are a bit on the they are a bit on ease in that aspect, that we should expect the continuation of this. That more like if you don't have this, I won't give you this. More like if you don't take this policy, we will not give you this. More like so that to a very large extent is making some people to be not too comfortable with Biden's victory. But that notwithstanding, if you look at his economic implication, his economic plan, blueprint plan for Africa, for me it is far better than what Donald Trump has so far been doing the last 4 years. So to a very large extent, we should expect economic boost between Africa and then America, now that Joe Biden has won the election.
And our anticipation globally is that we now see stronger synergies and some of the ties that were already broken repaired. But at this point in time, let's talk about oil and how this policy of his for Joe Biden now at this point in time. Fuel price would have to be high enough to be able to contain any sort of clean energy alternatives and make that much more competitive to fossil fuel. At this point in time, looking at the outputs we've seen in terms of U.S. shale as well as our limited diversification for Nigeria and the anemic growth we've seen in Africa as well. And we've also seen so many cuts just to ensure that we work well with OPEC. At this point in time, how do you think this would also affect Africa's foreign reserve, Nigeria's foreign reserves, because that's a major source of foreign exchange at this point in time?
Oil accounts for about 80% of our foreign earnings, and that's which also accounts for about 60% of our total revenue, and that is a huge exposure to external factor. Joe Biden, in one of his policies for Africa, for the United States, said that he has planned to spend $7 trillion in the next 10 years on green energy. And to the very large extent, it means that there will be a massive reduction in the importation of oil from Nigeria to America. Because if you look at trade with Africa, trade of America in the last 2019, their total trade volume is about $4 trillion. And of this $4 trillion, less than 40 billion, that's 0.001%, is from Africa. And if you check what America is buying majorly from Nigeria is oil. After oil is granite. Not even processed granite in its raw form. So it means we are actually creating unemployment at home. So if we don't have anything to sell, the only thing we are selling is oil, and he's saying that it's going green. It means there will be reduction in our oil sales to America. And if there is reduction in the total global demand for oil, of course there will be a reduction in price. And when there's reduction in price of oil, our foreign reserve will deplete. When our foreign reserve depletes, our foreign exchange will also get worsened. So to a very large extent, that's why I said it's a double-edged. So as we're expecting foreign direct investment, we should also look at the implication of his policies. So if there is a global reduction, for instance, in demand for oil, for one of the things he said the first day that he's sworn into the office, the following day he joined the Paris agreement, the climate change agreement. And if it goes back there, it means they want to promote climate change. When there is production, they want to promote green energy, they want to go green. So if that is promoted, by year 2050, there shouldn't be air pollution anymore. That means there will be massive reduction in the demand for oil. So it exposes our foreign reserve beyond what we should even imagine. Well, so the very large extent, it means to start looking inward on different ways of getting foreign reserve other than dependency on oil.
The focus is to cut down emissions to net zero by 2050 and also bring in emissions from the power industry to net zero levels by the year 2035. But let's now talk about our limited diversification a little much more. At this point in time, trade between the United States and sub-Saharan Africa is in the doldrums. We seem to have access to the African market with the exploration of the AGOA, which in 2015 was also extended to the year 2025, which gives us access to tariff-free platforms that we could explore, ranging from oil, agricultural produce. Moving our focus away from oil, at this point in time, exploring agricultural produce, what sort of body language do you expect from the Nigerian government, from African governments? What should we be bringing to the table in terms of increasing our trade with the United States? Because that has dwindled largely. The only partner we could say we have is China, which has also recorded about 215. That was about 2014, but that has also dropped to 148 as at the year 2017. So at the end of the day, we have to put a much more strategic front.
So for me, I think what we should do, especially in form of agriculture, is to widen the scope of agriculture. We should leave this traditional way of doing farming. We should stop exporting raw material. The other time during the last dispensation, this current dispensation, the last Minister of Agriculture, Adwo, was celebrating Nigeria exporting yam outside the country, and I felt this is not needed.
We know the narrative that followed that.
Yes, this is not needed. Why can't we process this before transporting them? Because at this juncture, we should just leave this aspect of exporting raw materials. By the time you are exporting raw materials, you are creating employment at home. I expect at this juncture that federal government, maybe through the CBN, Federal Minister of Agriculture, maybe to invest massively into the agricultural value chain. If we can process this thing from raw material, and again, if you also check, about 40% of our farm produce don't find their way to the market. So if we can have what they call preservatives and what have you, and prevent these things from getting spoiled, convert them into finished goods or near finished goods before exporting them, then we'll have much to offer for the so-called America that we're all looking at now. Because if we continue exporting raw material, then we'll continue shooting ourselves in the leg. To a very large extent, in the next 10 years, there will be a massive reduction in our oil sales. Then the price will come down. Our external reserve will be exposed. Then our foreign exchange will surely drop.
And we'll be able to manage all of those shocks if it comes just at a point in time that
that's
we're not
why we also
prepared.
need a massive economy.
Exactly.
It's not just wishing it. We just have to work towards it. Bring policies in place that we can use to combat this.
Well, at the end of the day, the only way if the U.S. economy or the election so far favoring Joe Biden will have meaning is if Nigeria, Africa as a whole, can continue to push a stronger foot forward, and then we have strategic investment and engagement with the United States.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for your contribution on the Breakfast Show this morning, Dr. Marvin Uri. Well, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we have sports news. You're still watching TVC Breakfast. Don't go anywhere.